Welcome. We are back on a Wednesday. Hold on. What's going on? Here we are. Okay. What? I was watching myself. I was both watching and recording at the same time. That is the do's or don'ts, the yeses or nos. That is the ease of life. In that we when we start watching ourselves, or we start connecting with ourselves, then we start tapping into the energy, and the energy is kind of an echo. We start going through the echo of thoughts, the echo of energy, the echo of emotion. So it can be kind of weird, and that is why we are bringing up this. That's why I am teaching this, as the unraveling of the ego, the path towards body being, or the ease of life, as I call it, is to find your yeses and your nos, to realize that our ego, ever since we're little, we have adapted an ego. Before we know it, we've adapted an ego of yeses and nos. That might be from our parents, it might be our friends, our aunts, our uncles, our grandparents, society. We adapt them so easily, like a monkey see, monkey do. So easy. As a little baby, we're so open. We perceive so easily every time our parents go into a yes or a no, bliss, sadness, pain, anger, happiness, love. So this ego, because this isn't us, it is kind of a support mechanism. It's kind of like, you know, support wheels on a bike, or like walking wheels. You walk as a little baby, you hold it, push it forward with two wheels. So then we have all these yeses and nos that we could see. Oh yeah, well, I'm just like my dad, or I'm just like my mom. So some of these we play out in our teens. Sometimes we feel like closer to our mom or our dad, or a brother or a sister, or an uncle or an aunt or grandparents. But this is kind of a program. We haven't had the need to kind of figure out who we are. We haven't had the need to kind of come back to truth, because it's almost like our parents say, take on what I have taught you. It's like a support. But it's also, it's out of fear. It's a little bit like, we don't want you to be a grown up yet. We don't want you to truly like hit reality. So we kind of have this mask on, this ego, that kind of protects us against reality, because most people are afraid of reality. Because what happens, suddenly there's an echo, suddenly we are watching ourselves, suddenly we're touching on reality, we're touching walking in truth. And that is so powerful. It's like you've become a warrior. You have power, you have grace, you have awareness, you have intention, you have purpose, you have love, you have happiness. So that's then you are walking alone. So in a sense, our parents they want us more to be their kid than to grow up afraid of losing. We think that being independent is to lose one another. We want our husband or our wife to kind of, we like to lean, we have this idea of leaning on each other. So we're kind of playing the game of attachment, which the ego becomes like attached to someone or something. So then we can fall in love with somebody, and we can realize that person can just be like, oh my God, everything you do is perfect. Yes, 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 yes. And you're like, oh my God, they're like literally me. And then you realize suddenly one day that they're like, I'm kind of tired of just saying yes. A lot of those yeses were actually no's. So they put in like, I'm in the love ego extra, play that game, but then their ego is still, yeah, I don't like all those things. And then they say, and then you get hit. Then you realize that people lie, just like the ego is a lie. So then the other person lies, and then you realize that you might have to suddenly change some of these things that you liked in your connection with the person. And then you might change, or you might not, and you might separate and go your different ways. But a lot of times in the beginning, you're like, let's try to change for the other. And then you do. So then you are starting to lie. You're starting to bend to the other. So that becomes like sometimes somebody bends to you because they're in love, but then they get strong and then they don't want to bend anymore. So it's like that power game of relationship. But then it doesn't stop there because we've only tapped into parts of our ego. Suddenly we get a job, or suddenly we get a kid, or suddenly we get money, or suddenly we taste alcohol, or suddenly we taste different things, or poverty. Suddenly we are injured. So then we go into other parts of our ego. We can suddenly play out being pathetic, or being addicted, or losing ourselves, or cheating, or all kinds of things, which is also just part of our yeses and our nos. That is our ego. So, but in a relationship, then suddenly when there's a new thing, when you suddenly become a parent, or you suddenly have a lot of money, and you spend money in different way than your wife or your husband. So then you are confronted with each other's egos, and then you might have to bend because to stay together. So that is kind of where having a partner is a little bit of a spiritual journey, but eventually you will feel maybe you're faking it, or that one is faking it, and then suddenly it comes to a point where you suddenly were like, no, I'm not able to bend anymore, or so then you might divorce. But if you continue, you might realize that as long as your ego is always the one that attaches it to the other, then your yeses and nos are always going to be challenged. And our yeses and nos are a path to realizing that we have truth inside. where we are connected to ourselves, our being. This being kind of lives gracefully, lives at ease, and you can always be connected to that. But then you have to dare to start enjoying your yeses and nos, and realize that yeses and nos are not always needed to be indulged, but they are there as a way to become aware of our energy. They're there to kind of, when we are touching upon our being, we live in truth. We are living in power, but we have depleted that energy and we've kind of made it into an ego that is kind of playing the games of society. But as you kind of realize that body being is that we can return to truth, then we start looking at where are we saying yes and where are we saying no. And that's where a teacher comes in, or a spiritual teaching like here, that we can start releasing these yeses and nos. And at certain times where we just always said yes, we suddenly, in the connection with our being, we might say no, and it releases energy. We release the pattern. And a lot of times this happens everywhere, not described as this. It happens if you go to a coach or a yoga teacher or a Tai Chi teacher or NLP or or chiropractor or all kinds of different therapies or teachings, or psychologist. So sometimes you get a teaching that kind of, you just practice a teaching, but you're inside the ego. But if you're lucky, you might literally hit your being accidentally, and then you got to release, and then you're like, oh my God, now I have figured out and this works, and now I need to send all my friends to this person, or I need to teach it myself. This technique is amazing. So then you have a lot of people having these experiences, but then they think that the technique is what leads, or I need cold showers or hot showers or stuff that we think it's the technique that is leading you anywhere. But in fact, it is that we harbor within our ego these yeses and nos that we can release gradually as we dare to open up that we are not the ego, that we are beyond it. Then we can come to release these as time comes by. Then we will start to go this journey, this inner journey, this spiritual journey. We realize that we can look at whether it's our husband or wife or a kid or work. Suddenly we will say no where we used to say yes, or we just say yes where we used to say no. We come to a place where we're done playing the game. And in that, we release, and then we can start releasing the energy that has been stuck within our ego. This is also where we can suddenly realize that we never need to quit our job, or we never need to divorce our husband or wives, or need to divorce our friends or family, or need to leave society or judge society. We can move beyond the yeses and nos and become that compassionate. That is kind of where you can turn the other cheek. So you become, sometimes you do say yes and no, you play out the ego because there's energy there, and other times you kind of return to being, and you don't need to neither say yes or no, but you follow what is needed. And sometimes people then can feel that you punch somebody, or you get punched. sometimes when you do suddenly hit upon energy and you release something, then it can feel pretty intense, because we move into all the external and internal energies of sadness, anger, desire, happiness, love, fear. So we will literally, it will literally take you to the, exactly, it will literally take you to the depths of fear. Yes, it will literally take you to the depths of your energy. It will stir up energy, like right now. So that is kind of literally when we start walking in truth, which is walking in our being, we will literally, energy will get stirred. So that is why this journey, I share it, because it will shake you sometimes to suddenly hit pain more honestly, hit anger more honestly, hit yourself more honestly, hit desire more honestly, hit fear or love more honestly. As you release these energies, suddenly it can echo, and it echoes, it becomes like a tunnel. And it echoes, or it coughs, or it car, like, life can seem pretty dramatic. So that is why the journey of releasing is pretty, it requires a maturity, that we dare to look at our yeses and nos, and not just accept what our husband or wife say, or our friends, or our teachers, or society, or the doctor, psychologist, everything that everybody kind of tells us what to do, how to live. And yet all these, most people are still stuck in their own ego, so they're still kind of a scared puppy themselves. They act as if they know, and as if like the body is just a, scientific proof or research how to act, like everything around is scientific, while it also kind of requires that when you return to the truth of being, then you will kind of go to the depths of yourself, the depths of pain, the depths of anger, the highs of desire or love or pleasure, or the depths of fear, all these things. But when you have made a choice, you realize that behind this, you are kind of rewiring, and you're kind of releasing the energy within your body. It's like all these energies are kind of stuck within your body, or outside your body, as like kind of cancer cells, and we can these release these energies and let it return back into yourself. And then when we start releasing the energies, we start to fill the nectar of being in yourself, and like realizing the maturity of yourself, the grace of yourself. Then you can start living from that gracefulness, the ease of life, as I call it, the ease of body being. So that is kind of the journey of realizing that we have all these yeses and nos, but we still have to kind of realize that, just like with our family or with our husband and wife, then as we release these yeses and nos, then suddenly we will start to flow with our husbands. And that's kind of where like a marriage becomes more spiritual, because you don't fight, you stop the war of, he does always say that, and I always have to do this for her, all this stuff. And then gradually new depths of your ego comes up, but then you are more used to that, that your yeses and nos aren't necessarily true. You have to play it out, the energy out, and then it can release. And then that leads you more and more to kind of become the center of your reality. And that is also, when you dare to do this, that means that you don't also just say yes to everyone, your kid or your husband. Because when you kind of create this, when you just meet them with the ego, you just create this false reality for other people that you always give them chocolate, you always give them sex, you always give them, you always make food for them, or you always do this, or you always say no, which kind of creates energy. So when you kind of release these bubbles, yeah, it will literally creating a little fire outside, or you will feel shaken for a while. So that is why these reminders are good. That's why we do these Wednesdays, and that we are kind of moving up towards a retreat in a couple of weeks. So some of you guys might already start to feel your ego and see the veil, see stuff in yourself that are shaking, because we're coming towards release. We're releasing today. We're also releasing more in a 3-day retreat in a couple of weeks. So yes. So there was energy already coming in there. It was like echoing into me. If people watch the beginning of the talk either on YouTube or on Instagram, and we're touching upon it, and that is where we also see how beautiful and how simple life can be when we really dare to trust the simplicity. That is why I kind of put away different tools, because we can use tools to release, but the tools will also hinder us from continual to awaken our ego. So that being said, like, if you are watching, or if you want to be, just sit back, give a like or a little comment on my videos, and say hi if you watch this later, or a little donation if that is calling you, in a way to kind of participate, and share it. If there's some people that wonder what this is, it is so easy, and yet there's many people now that are ready to hear it, as the world outside is kind of, you can see it more in America. You saw it in the COVID, where everybody is like, the whole world got shaken, but you see it more in America than other places, because this is kind of the pillar of consciousness here in the West. So it's you can see more people are kind of battling out. They had the Civil War, but now there's the war of the mind, of opinions. Everybody's getting triggered. It is because the ego is coming up, the energy is increasing, so everybody's getting offended. Everybody wants to be right, but eventually we will have to dare to seek ease and peace of mind, and dare to turn the other cheek and start coming together. So that requires that some people start to take the higher route, dare to step into maturity. So with that said, let's close your eyes or sit back, and let's just take in. It's like where the mind is up here, bringing energy, wisdom, and then we have to have the body kind of letting it, grounding it down. And that's when we start releasing these yeses and nos. We're starting to open up to the breath that is outside and inside, and it's sometimes felt and sometimes not felt, and it's just kind of a blessed connection to yourself as a being. Yes, and just drop your shoulders. Yeah, it's like cracking down as you sit down. So if you're new, just let yourself just sink into your chair wherever you are sitting, or maybe you listen to this in the car. Just stay focused on the road. or just let yourself play and roll off and flow off. Perfect. The energy is coming down and it calms down. So that is where we have to dare to honor that sometimes the energy, when we get rattled, we get shaken. We can be the mind can start run amok, but then we also have to dare to let it calm down, give it grace, give it a smile, give it an embrace, and let it kind of sink, yeah, into your body being, which is kind of unfelt, unperceived. It takes time to perceive this side of reality. And then it goes all the way down into your feet. It's like stretching out your feet, like your arms, just like a cat. And then it comes up again like a silent breath or just like a wind filling you and opening you up. And now it's suddenly so quiet out. Perfect. And yeah, if you're wondering about the retreat or if you're preparing for that, that is the next weekend, the 24th to 26th. So that some of you are already prepared, some of you are still feel like, oh, is this going to fit? And am I available all 3 days? But you can watch some days lives and sometimes you can watch them afterwards. So that is the blessed thing about it. And if you have questions, just let me know. And it's going to be fun, as it always is. And yeah, it's a beautiful Wednesday evening or day. It's like sunny and warm in Chicago, like heated up. And I will talk to you soon. And give me a note, give me a little comment to whatever's going on. And I might talk about it next time or DM me on the side if there's other questions that I might respond to. Anyway, I hope you have a beautiful Wednesday and or whatever day it is. And I will see you guys again soon. Bye.